o'clock.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Following guidance issued by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in 23 regarding an updated, right, in 2025, regarding open meeting law, we are holding this public meeting remotely, and any individuals wishing to join can do so by utilizing the Zoom technology. Just a note for this afternoon's meeting. The link on the agenda doesn't work, so go to Zoom and enter the meeting ID and you will be able to join us. We are utilizing the Zoom webinar technology. Therefore, if you wish to make a comment, please raise your hand and we will give you access to the meeting. Prior to beginning the meeting, I'm going to take a roll call vote. Robin Hunter, present.
Dave Haviland, present.
All right, so that will commence the meeting. We will start with citizens' comments.
And just use the raise your hand tab in the middle of the bottom of your screen if you wish to say something. I don't see anybody.
Yeah, me neither. So that means we'll move right to item 1.1. And this is a public hearing regarding Eversource's petition for grant of a location on Fox Run Road. And I believe Christine Crosby, the rights agent from Eversource, should be joining us.
Yeah, she's here via phone.
Okay.
Hi, this is Christine Crosby.
Good afternoon, Christine. This is Robin Hunter. The floor is yours to provide us with the summary of Eversource's petition.
Yes, Eversource is requesting permission for a grant of location for approximately 49 feet of conduit at Admount Transformer 1316 on Fox Run Road. And the purpose of that installation would be to provide electric service to number, I believe it's number 6 Morningside Drive.
Right. And I guess in accordance with the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 166, we're required to have a public hearing, and that was advertised in the newspaper and on the town's website, and also letters were sent to abutters. So, Mike, did we get any questions or objections?
We did not. We didn't receive anything ahead of time. And I just, given it's a public hearing, just suggest you give an opportunity for anyone to raise their hand in case they were here to make comments.
So if anyone has a comment, again, please utilize the raise your hand feature, which you should see at the bottom of your screen.
Don't see anything.
Me neither. So is this a new conduit, or is there one already there and we're just replacing it?
It's a new conduit.
Okay. So I don't have any questions. Dave, do you?
No, it looks pretty straightforward. New home,
Right.
They need electricity.
Yeah, it would be nice to provide them with electricity. So I move to approve Eversource's petition and plan for the purpose of obtaining a grant of location to install approximately 49 feet of conduit under Fox Run Road, northwesterly, and approximately 400 feet northeast of Morningside Drive.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
And then, Mike, do we officially have to close the public hearing?
I probably would do that. Yeah, just.
All right, so I hereby make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
All right, so now we have another public hearing. And
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is item 1.2 on the agenda, and this is a public hearing regarding the adoption of regulations for the stormwater management and erosion control. And I believe that this bylaw was passed at the last town meeting. Is that correct? And it's been accepted by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I'm assuming that this hearing is to put it in place. But I'll turn it over to the Department of Public Works, Kevin McCabe, and Town Council Nina Chickering Cook.
Great,
So
thank
I will jump in before Kevin just for a second to set the stage a little bit. Robin, you are
I
correct.
didn't do it well.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.
The bylaw was adopted and the bylaw has been in effect. What is not yet in effect are the regulations which implement the bylaw. So the Board of Selectmen, as the implementing authority under the bylaw, have to adopt regulations. That's what Kevin is here to propose to you all today and for you all to adopt, which essentially administratively determines how that bylaw will be implemented in town.
Okay. But it's been in effect since town meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Since the AG's approval of the bylaw.
okay.
And then Robin, I'm just gonna move in. I see Janet here, Janet Bowser, and I think
Val is
Dover
on,
Planning. What's that, Kevin?
Val Lynn is on as well, so.
Okay, yeah, I think she's Dover Planning, so I'll move her in. So they both worked with Nina and Kevin on this, just to help answer any questions.
All right.
Carol's
is
here as
Ken-
well. Carol Lisbon.
So is Kevin going to provide an overview?
Yes.
How
yeah.
about brief
Okay.
high-level presentation here? I'm just, I guess, just need to enable.
Hang on
me
one
to
sec.
Screen and we'll jump into that.
Go ahead, Kev.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
All right, so yeah, Nina already gave the backstory, so I don't need to spend much time on that. So we'll jump right into the stormwater management regulations proposed here for March's meeting. So why do we need stormwater? To reduce flooding in community, remove pollutions carried by the stormwater runoff, recharge our natural groundwater protection supply, protect our drinking water, protect local stream banks and erosion, and for public health and welfare. So thresholds for the stormwater mitigation. As a recap, in annual town meeting in May of 24, this was approved 120 in favor and 46 against. So what are those triggers where this actually comes into play? So any land disturbance of 5,500 square feet or 25% of a lot, whichever is the smaller. Any activity which would alter or propose modifications to the existing town-owned drainage infrastructure, storage of over 100 cubic yards of excavation or fill, or any activity involved in a wetland permit. So the regulations, which was shares kind of a high level on what those phases would look like. So there'd be the 3 phases: pre-construction, construction, and then the post-construction phase. So plan and development would be in your pre-construction phase, moved into the stormwater management permit application process to ensure, that they're meeting the stormwater BMPs, which is best management practices. Erosion and sediment control measures will be implemented on site if required. And then once that permit process has been approved, then they would move, developer homeowner would go into the construction phase, which they would begin that land disturbance, And then continue implementation of those stormwater mitigation, erosion and sediment controls, and any tree protection measures, if that was detailed and needed to be outlined, and then schedule those site inspections with Mike, the town engineer. And then once all those activities are wrapped up, it would be the post-construction phase, which is to finalize that implementation of the permanent stormwater runoff and mitigation features, the closeout site inspections, and then any other follow-up activities to close up the permit.
Right, so Kevin, I could see this being, you know, something that developers know about, but your basic homeowner, you know, it could impact landscaping projects, correct?
Correct, if they, you know, met that threshold, or if it was
Right.
trees in that setback, sure.
So then certain landscape projects now would require a building permit? Is that, so
They
would you need,
require
who,
the permit through us, the Stormwater Authority, through Chapter 159.
so actually, it's a permit. You would need to get it from the highway department.
Correct.
Okay, so that's really different because for homeowners, you know, I think most homeowners have never had to worry about landscaping projects. So one of the things I'm thinking about is how do we get the word out that, you know, certain projects may require a permit. You know, some of them are gonna be absolutely obvious, but some may not.
Correct, yep. Yeah, so currently now, if they were pulling a building permit, you know, in the pre-construction phase, right, they would visit the departments to
Right.
submit forms, construction plans, request a building permit, and then would be redirected to us for the stormwater permit. So those larger projects are being captured now,
Covered, right.
between Mike and Walter, and redirected to us if they need to go through that process. Mike spent an extensive amount of time meeting with the majority of the civil site and developers in town, so they're all very familiar. So once this is, should this be approved tonight, it's you know, working with Assistant Administrator Costello and putting together a more local communications plan. The other issue, right, is cutting down trees if they're in the dimensional setbacks. That's been kind of that gray area. So Val's on, so she can speak to that a little bit, but the tree preservation committees, you know, I gave them some people that bid, and they have a local arborist on there. So everyone's kind of putting together a list to direct solicit local tree cutting contractors, because that seems to be, to your point, kind of those odds and ends maintenance type projects that you wouldn't think would require a permit. So trying to encapsulate that audience so that, you know, it's not kind of a retroactive approach to implementing this plan and seeing through it, so.
Right, so I guess just for clarification purposes, like if I were to put an addition onto my house, and that addition would require that a wooded part of my lot, you know, I need to remove trees from there, the building department then would automatically let me know that I need to go to the highway department, to the town engineer, to
that's
ensure that I'm in compliance with chapter 159, the stormwater application?
That's correct.
Okay,
So Robin, I'm gonna jump in here just for a second. It's not just removal of trees that's the trigger, however, it's any land
Right.
disturbance that hits the thresholds that Kevin talked about earlier.
okay.
All right, so after they go to said departments to get those permits, the building department would provide a copy of those electronic plans to the town engineer, along with the completed 159 stormwater application checklist. potential for a site visit or a in-person meeting with Mike, the town engineer, during that planning phase and prior to any of these related environmental and land disturbance work takes place. And then at that point, the town engineer would notify the applicant of approval or required for a revise and resubmit to those applicable plans.
Kevin, can I ask a couple of quick clarifying questions? How did the number of 5,500 square feet come up? Is that basically 1/8 of an acre?
That's 25% of the smallest residential lot in Dover.
One of the issues is no one knows what 5,000 square feet is. So if it is close to 1/8 of an acre, or maybe we ought to put that in there as well, with an approximate, the squiggle in front of it, just so people get an idea. I think people know what an acre is like, but and it could just be me, but just to clarify that further. And then to Robin's point with notification, once this gets adopted, it might make sense to go to the popular landscapers in town and just send a quick form letter to inform them of this new bylaw.
You know, also realtors, because a lot of people will walk around a house and start, you know, talking about different things that they're thinking of doing. So I
Great
think it would
idea.
be good
Yeah.
if the realtors are also understand.
So yeah, I think what Rob and I are really getting at is we don't want people to inadvertently run afoul of this new bylaw. And so education is on us, at least up front.
Yeah, agreed.
I can add a couple of comments.
Thanks, Megan.
So the Tree Preservation Committee has been working with Kevin on this regulation development, and we have a plan to do some public education, exactly as you brought up. We have just been holding off until this hearing was completed, and so we're hoping in May to host a community forum, like at the Dover Library or something of that sort, so that the public can be invited and hear about and ask questions about this regulation, as well as other bylaws and regulations that involve tree preservation.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we
we've
do
only
have a
been
list
everybody
of
to listen.
contractors. Yeah, and we do have a list of contractors, tree maintenance teams, and realtors that we plan on providing kind of like a FAQ sheet for.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Val.
You know, this is a broader communication issue, and it probably doesn't belong here, but maybe we could have like a little section on the website that says, are you new to Dover? This is where you get your transfer station sticker. This is, you know, dog licenses. This is a bylaw that may impact you.
And
Just
then we
maybe
could
another
even
way
take
to
that.
reach
That's a
people.
great idea, Robin. Then we could take that and send it to the main realtors around town as
Right.
a handout to their clients.
Right.
That's exactly what they do, Robin, in Needham. I know when we moved into Needham, we got a whole packet with like coupons to area restaurants and bakeries, and then a kind of a list from the town that said, here's kind of the first 5 things you should do as a new homeowner in Needham. And it was a lot of websites and getting permits for like a transfer station and things like that.
Right. And then we could also say there are ample volunteer opportunities in the town. Get involved. It's a little self-serving, but I'm on to something.
So sorry, Kevin, we keep sidetracking you.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin. You
It's
got us all
important-
excited here.
all important topics. So, and then also after this, should this get approved today, I'd the other aspect that I'd want to put is, you know, the presentation I made at town meeting, this presentation, and other data points. So I kind of have a dedicated page within the Public Works page as well. So that, you know, to redirect
A lot
people
of sense.
for the nitty gritty of all of it. So. So then we move forward to the construction phase where that land disturbance activity begins, only after the required permits have been granted. Continue monitoring and or enhancement of the stormwater mitigation, erosion control mechanisms, and any tree protections if applicable. And then the town of Dover, you know, will continue to provide those ongoing monitoring events, which would be established between kind of the complexity of the project and all that. And I guess, you know, that the town engineer would see fit. So then it would move to the post-construction phase, which the applicant would provide those as-built plans to the building department, town engineer, and any other land departments for the final review. Then the town of Dover engineer would complete the review of the as-built, final inspection for compliance with Chapter 159, and then any other post-construction feedback, which could result in, you know, the closeout of these documents. And then after the town engineer determines the post-construction compliance with Chapter 159, the town would, you know, collect any unpaid fees and then again, it makes sure that all compliance for the permit is adhered to. So some examples of what this new regulation, these elements look like. In the regulations, it gives the town the opportunity to look back 2 years on any land disturbance activities or construction footprints. So essentially, if there's a new development in town and the town's receiving, we're getting inundated with flooding, gives us that opportunity to go back in on that permit to have them infiltrate or provide any mitigation on site that needed. Then these tree protection zones would have to be identified and implemented on the plans. So what covers in the tree protection is any tree over 6 inches DBH, which is diameter at breast height. And that tree protection is the dimensional setbacks to each site. So typically, you know, 30 in the front, 30 in the sides, 40 in the rear, again, depending on what the zoning is for that regulation, but the trees that are protected are only within the dimensional building setbacks. So not the entire lot. And then no land disturbance activities, including tree removal, until Chapter 159 permit has been issued. And again, that's only with the tree removal within those dimensional setbacks. And then adding the administrative and application fees and implementing the tree mitigation. If you know you had to clear cut or move a few trees, the mitigation options would be to provide, you know, replanting somewhere else on site. If that's not feasible, then there'll be, which is on the town meeting for a warrant article for a revolving fund that they can contribute to the tree mitigation fund in lieu of planting on site if that's not applicable. Where as the town, we'd be able to, you know, add trees in the public right of way elsewhere. And then just an example, picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So I presented the reverse, right? So it's 40 in the front, 30 in the rear, 30 in the sides. So as you can see, any trees without that footprint aren't applicable to the regulations, but only within those dimensional setbacks. And again, over 6 inches at DBH. So not every tree needs to be identified. And so with that, thank you. You know, this has been over a year's worth of work. So certainly thank you to our town engineer, Mike Angieri, Val Lynn on planning, and Janet Bowser as well on conservation. So, you know, we all put in a ton of hours to get this thing complied, to get it to town meeting last year, and then now to finalize and finish up the regulations, to make it kind of clear as day, if you will, for a new permitting entity in town.
Oh, so I thank you all for, you know, all the time and effort and work that you've put into this. I think if I were a citizen, I would ask, well, why did it take so long to put the regulations in place? So I think it would be helpful, going forward, maybe when we do adopt new bylaws, to communicate the steps that you have to take until you can put the regulations in place, because it's not that all of you were just sleeping at the wheel. There was a process. We had to go through to get approval before we could put the regulations in place. So I think it's important for citizens to understand that. However, the bylaw is in effect even before the regulations are put in place. I think I got that right.
Well, I also thank you, this certainly made for some light reading for us. So anyone who wonders why it took so long, just read the regulations, and if that doesn't answer their question, then I'm not sure one will. But yeah. I actually have, when you're through, Robin, I've got some suggested edits and then some typos to be corrected.
Okay, go ahead.
Right up on page 1 in the second paragraph under 1.0 authority, the town's review time shall be a 30-day period. Now, this is a little different from the planning board, who is asking for an extension of review because Kevin and the town engineer are there 30 days a month, whereas the planning board is only going to meet so many times. But I would suggest putting it at the end of that. So town review time shall be a 30-day period from the date of a complete application with all necessary supporting documents. Because otherwise you're going to get someone just to send in the application and then they're going to piecemeal it all out and then say, well, you only have 30 days. So it's 30 days from a complete application with all supporting documents. That would be, again, these are suggestions. The second one is, thank you for saying DBH. I did find it later on in the glossary, for lack of better terms, but my suggestion, and you've done it for most terms, but each term or abbreviation in its first use to have it spelled out so we know what DBH is. Because when I read this, I'm like, what the heck is DBH? And found it later. Then, let's see what page this is on. It's 3 subset 4. So let me move this and go find it. 3 subset 4. It's under criminal penalty and non-criminal disposition. It looks like the word program came back on top, and it's because it's reading shall be punished by a fine of not more than $250, period. Then there's a space, capital E, each day or part thereof. And it looks to me like that should all be one sentence. Have you seen where I'm talking about yet?
I mean, Dave, maybe you could just send these to Kevin and Val? Do you have them written?
I have them circled.
Okay,
I printed the pages where there were some typos, and I'm happy to do that. And we can just say, if you guys agree with them, then accept them. And if you don't, then don't. But I just want to make sure that what we actually publish is clear and doesn't have typos if we can avoid it.
Yeah,
okay, so then,
I would defer to Nina, who I failed to thank, who put in countless time. So thank you for that, Nina. And I defer to her.
it's,
Yeah, what
so what I suggest is that Dave forward his suggestions. His first suggestion I thought was a good one, but And then any typos that he has found, to all of you, including Nina, and that, you know, you review them and decide as a committee which ones make sense to adopt. I'm sure the typos will be fixed. So with that, I will move to adopt the regulations for the stormwater management and erosion as edited. And further, that non-substantive changes in numbering of this regulation be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the number formatting of the Dover Town Code.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
All right, thank you, everybody. And I am
Yes.
again going to close this public hearing and move on to section 1.3 or
Robin,
agenda
did you-
item.
I
Yep.
apologize for interrupting you. Did you want to see before closing if anyone had public comment, although you've
Oh,
already?
that would be a good idea, wouldn't it?
We didn't vote on closing anyway, so you're safe.
Right.
So again, just a reminder, if anyone has comments, you can just use the raise hand function. Don't see any.
Okay. So then I make a motion to close this public hearing.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
I, Dave Haviland.
All right, and now we will move to item 1.3. And I don't know if Dick Malcolm is,
He's in the waiting room or an
right,
attendee.
so if we could let him in, and this agenda item would be to approve Fenwick McCready architectural additional services in connection with the construction schedule extension for the community center project. Have we let Dick in? So I'm not sure who's going to present, Dick or Al.
Oh, there he is. He's in.
I don't see him yet.
Yeah, there I am. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Hey, Dick.
Hi,
The
everybody.
floor is yours, or the monitor is yours.
Okay. This is for the ad service,
Right.
ad service proposals from Fenwick McCready. There's two of them. Numbered one is 05 and the second one is 06. And this is all as a direct 05 is as a result of the delays in the construction. I don't know if you had a chance to look over the ad service schedule extension, excuse me, the ad service proposals. The building committee regarding ad service proposal 05, the building committee is recommending that be recommended for approval 05. And the second one, 06, was divided into two categories. Category A was for some additional work beyond their scope. And category B was for a bunch of work which came up during the course of the project, which we are not recommending for approval. And Al, I'm gonna ask Al if he wants to add anything to what I said.
Yeah,
So-
no, I
so-
mean, unless there's any specific questions, I'm happy to go over.
So Dick, that was something that I wanted clarification on. So we are not gonna pay for services that have already been provided that were in excess of the scope. But we're going to have a budget item for services that we may need that are not in the scope.
Yeah, let me see if I can put it a little different way. So with let's just start with the additional service proposal 05.
Okay,
We need the architects to continue with their construction administration of the project. Their scope, original scope of work, and agreements which the town we had with them, ran out the end of December.
okay,
Okay, so they've actually been working for the months of January, February, and into March without an agreement. But we need their assistance with construction administration, and we need their we also need their consultants as well, which is all being billed through Fenwick McCready. So
okay,
what 05 is basically saying, okay, because of the construction delays, this is to pay for their services for the months of January, February, March, and the anticipation is April as well.
So Dick, a couple of things that to clarify that these payments will be withheld from the MOOC payments as allowed under the contract.
so Dave, you might want to just let people know who Luke is,
Oh, sorry, the contractor, M.
right,
O'Connor.
the general contractor.
Yeah.
Right.
M. O'Connor Contracting. I'm going to defer that question to either Al or Nina on that.
Yes, Dave, to answer your question, we at every payment at every payment period or every payment application, we reconcile the damages that the town has incurred. So, for example, as it relates to these additional services proposal, because the architect has not been paid since essentially January, because we haven't had a contract, we haven't withheld anything from the contractor for this. But as soon as the town makes a payment for some of these services, then the plan is to withhold that from the general contractor as liquidated damages.
Thank you. I knew that, Al. I just wanted the general public to know that as well.
I'm just gonna clarify one teeny thing, Al said, because I can't help myself. These would be withheld as damages, not as liquidated damages. There are two different things we're withholding from the contractor.
Yes, but
You
I just
want to give it. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I just wanted everyone to understand that, yes, we are being billed additional services for the project manager and the architect, but those damages, as Nina pointed out, are being withheld from M. O'Connor, the contractor.
And right now, what's the best estimate of when the building will be complete and available for use?
Yeah, I can answer that. So right now, the contractor is anticipating, based on their latest schedule, they're anticipating achieving a TCO, temporary certificate of occupancy, in mid-April.
Okay, so 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess.
But I just think it's important to clarify that that date is different than open for the public.
Occupancy, right.
It's
So there'll still
also
be a
still
punch
highly
list.
flexible, and I don't want anyone who listens to this to pin a date. But we're hoping mid-April, but it could get delayed for other unforeseen actions. So I just want to set expectations for the public.
And I'd also like to add, this is for the TCO is a temporary certificate of occupancy. But there's still usually another month typically on these projects, there's usually another month of closeout and punch lists and to really get the building ready for the public. So again, I don't want to set any false expectations of middle of April, the building can be used for the public.
Well, thank you for the clarification. So I don't have any more questions or comments. Do you, Dave?
I just want in the motion, I want to make sure that 5 is fine, but in 6 it says beyond basic services. I think if we just put the amount in there of $4,500, I'd feel better, because there was a lot more than that is not being recommended by the building committee, and nor would we want to agree to them.
Right, so I move to approve Fennec McCready Architectural's ad service proposal 05, construction schedule extension, and add service proposal 06, beyond basic services. However, this amount is not to exceed $4,500 for the community center building project.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
gentlemen. Oh, and Nina and Lady.
And Nina, did Nina drop off already?
Nope,
No,
she's there.
she's hanging out.
All
for the
right.
next one.
Right, that's what I was thinking. So the next item on the agenda, which is item 1.4, and this will be a discussion and vote regarding opening and closing the May 4th, 2025. So this is this year's annual town meeting warrant. For the sole purpose of inserting a warrant article to amend a general bylaws, groundwater protection districts. So is this just a one general bylaw, groundwater protection districts?
Correct. So
Okay,
just,
And-
I'll give a little background and Nina can jump in if I get something wrong. But just because
Okay.
this is not typical for Dover to open and insert an article at this stage in the game.
yeah, I don't think we've ever, well, we probably have, but I don't recall ever doing it.
Yeah, it's not uncommon generally, but I just think here it hasn't
Right.
happened. So, very long story short, as the board knows, DBW was before the planning board and received a preliminary site plan recommendation for the new municipal fuel island. This was this past January 27th, I believe. As part of that recommendation, and again, just for background, the recommendation is to you, the selectmen, who then go on to actually approve the project, was to get confirmation on the permitting requirements under our current Chapter 116 Groundwater Protection District general bylaw. So as part of that, we worked through a number of conditions and recommendations. Part of that one, Nina reviewed and basically determined that within a GW1, so a groundwater 1 area, there was a map in your packet, which is really hard to read, but it's the best we could pull. All of Dover Center is in that area. And the bylaw specifically prohibits the storage of liquid petroleum of any kind, with some minor exceptions, including normal household use, generators, things of that nature. So this came to our attention because we are proposing to build a new fuel island, potentially move its location. But regardless of that, it was determined that the existing fuel island, as well as the mobile gas station and potentially Dover Automotive and some of the work and storage of fuels and oil they have there, are all in violation of the bylaw as it's written today.
And
The
when
bylaw
was this bylaw adopted in
It was-
1993?
Yeah, it was last revised in its entirety in 1993. Something did exist before that, but the current language you see today was 1993. So
And-
we did some research, went through annual reports, blue books, warrants, and the best we can tell, the intention of the town was to not eliminate those pre-existing uses, to not say no fuel island DBW, get rid of mobile, no automotive repair. So we don't know exactly what it went into it, but I think what's very clear is the bylaw does not have any pre-existing protections. We usually call it grandfathering, and there was no language that allowed for any waiver or variance to the bylaw. So after that discovery and after discussion with Nina, I'm recommending to you that you consider this amendment to the bylaw. Again, as you mentioned, we would have to open the warrant, insert this one amendment, then close it. But the only change would be to allow those pre-existing uses to continue. Nina,
Right,
did I get that right?
and
Yeah, sorry.
I think what's important to note here that in 1993, there was a fuel island at the DPW as well as the mobile station.
Right.
So one has to assume the intent was, since there was no discussion to move either of those, it was an unintended consequence that they weren't grandfathered in.
Right, that's again, I hate to assume, but our best guess is that. Often, again, this is indeed a general bylaw, but with our zoning bylaws, there are grandfathering provisions, so certainly there could have been some confusion of maybe this also allowed grandfathering, even though it wasn't spelled out, but it's definitely not the case.
Right.
Well, it's a good catch by Nina, and I don't think anyone intends us to shutter the Dover Mobile, not have fuel for our fleet of trucks from fire, police, DPW, et cetera. And as you say, possibly Dover Automotive having to remove their tanks. So we have to bring this to the town, and that's what this process will allow us to do.
Right, and so I assume that since we now have a need to amend the bylaw, we will have to defer the approval of the fuel island replacement. Okay,
Right, exactly. So the proposal would be to open and close the warrant to add this article, and then we would hold the capital request for the fuel island, at least until the next town meeting, most likely the next annual town meeting.
okay. It's just, I find it, to me, it's just kind of a surprise that it isn't a given that existing uses would still be in existence, but I guess it's a nuance because it's a general bylaw, because I believe zoning bylaws just make the assumption that current uses would continue to exist. So I move to reopen the May 5th, 2025 annual town meeting warrant to insert a warrant article, amend general bylaws, groundwater protection districts, and then to close the warrant.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
hi, David Haviland.
Well, thank you, Nina. Thank you, Mike. I'm sure that was a lot. It's a good thing we have all those blue books.
Yeah, well, one of the things we should do, this is become a new warrant article, right?
Right.
It has, yep.
So we need to forward this on to the warrant committee and the moderators as soon as practical.
Absolutely. So we'll share the draft warrant, and we can just roll right into the next one if you want.
I was gonna say he gave you an opening there.
Yeah,
So
it's
I know
perfect.
1.5.
Yeah. So we actually just, and you may not, I don't know if you've checked your email, but within the last couple hours, you just received a copy of the final draft of the warrant for your consideration. There are some comments on there from Nina that I think she and I just need to work through. And there were also some suggested, again, these are all very minor, but suggested, edits to the planning board, some of the wording in the planning board articles. And I just didn't feel comfortable having you approve those without running them by at least the chair. So what I wanted to ask the board is, you will have a chance to review what I've sent you. Nina and I can finish working through some of the proposed or potential changes. But I would ask perhaps you defer this because one, it's not in a state to actually vote. Two, it just wouldn't be fair to ask you to vote after seeing it for 20 minutes. And perhaps we could try to schedule a one-off meeting. Rob, I know you talked about your travel schedule earlier, but depending on when you're traveling, either Friday or Monday, so that we could vote this, which would allow us to keep our timeline to get it to the printer and out in the mail. As we want to get it to residents as early as possible, but our bylaw requires a minimum of 14 days prior to town meeting. So by doing that, perhaps as late as Monday, we'll still be able to meet those requirements.
So Monday would be much better for me.
Okay, perfect.
And I appreciate the extra time because I was panicking and I really didn't have a lot of time to read through it.
Yeah, no,
And
no,
then,
that
and then
wouldn't
I
be-
assume, I think you said this will send it to the planning board and maybe even send a draft to the chair of the warrant committee.
Yep, Woody already did have a draft, but I'll
Okay,
get him the updated version here. And then, yes, I'll send this to Carol. And again, I'll talk to Nina first, but we'll have everyone who needs to take a quick look at it. As I said, none of the changes are certainly substantial, but we just want to make sure everyone's okay with them.
all right,
Robin, how
so
does the afternoon of the 31st look for you?
that would be great.
So Mike, I'm open the afternoon of the 31st, like 12:30 on, so you and Chris pick a time and we can pick this off and get it done.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we'll take a quick peek at our calendar, and if you're, and Dave, I'm sorry, when are you available? What time on?
Anytime after 12:30.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll get something scheduled. We'll get the agenda posted and get a calendar invite out to everybody.
All right, so there's no vote on this.
Right.
So we will move to
1.6.
1.6, which is a discussion of the May 19th annual town election ballot questions. So there's no motion here, but I think we need to make a decision as to whether or not any of the debt that will be used to fund capital will be excluded debt, because if it's excluded debt, we need to have it on the ballot. Correct? We need a ballot question.
Right. You would need a ballot question that's a two-part process.
Right,
And
right.
again, we could tie this into the next item as well. But I know at least, and I'll let you elaborate, but at least as of now, the conversation has been doing the debt within the tax levy.
Right. And I think especially now with the fuel island being delayed, it gives us the opportunity to pull together a more strategic model that will allow us to have a long range plan with respect to the type of debt we're going to use to fund capital.
Well, I agree with you, Robin. Certainly some of it, if not all of it, is going to be excluded. So we will need to have that on the town election warrant.
So I think we should have a conversation, because right now we have the fire truck and the field improvements to the region that are flagged as debt. Both of those are very easy to absorb within the levy limit. And then we have a tremendous amount of additional capital that needs to be funded. I'm not sure we want all the capital to be excluded debt. So I think we need to have a conversation as to, and I know we have looked at consultants that could help us develop a model so that we could better understand excluded versus non-excluded and how much debt should be under the levy. So I think at this juncture, I am not comfortable making a decision. So maybe we could add this as an agenda item so we can get more clarification on the pros and cons of both for our next meeting, because I think we have enough time. Is that correct, Mike?
I believe we do. Yeah, I'll double check the calendar dates and the timeline, but I believe we do.
Right.
That would be great, because there was also some non-excluded debt that was approved last year as well. And so we
Right.
need to look at the aggregate effect of non-excluded debt on the operating budget in the levy limits. So should we just take 1.6 and add it to next Monday's meeting? Or maybe, or I don't know if that's 1.7 too.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it could be all of, I guess I'm not sure how quickly we're in a position to make that determination. I mean, I think I'm comfortable saying as of today, in terms of the finance team, our recommendation would be to proceed this year without a debt exclusion, to do it within the tax levy. And then I think, as Robin highlighted, and again, we're kind of rolling into the next one, but Chris and I have been in contact with a couple of vendors that are able to help us in a more strategic way map out not only our capital requests, which we have a pretty good 5-year capital plan, but how to fund it. And that'll be a larger analysis of what we can continue to afford under the levy, what we may want to consider doing a debt exclusion for. That's going to take a little time. We want to start that soon. However, won't be in time for this town meeting. So my suggestion would be to proceed this year as is, without a debt exclusion, but then commence with that study to come back to the warrant committee, town meeting with a real solid financing plan for our capital debt, which we know is our capital requests are pretty large over the next few years.
Right, so I think what would be really helpful is to get a summary of how much, what existing debt is today, what amount of that debt is excluded versus non-excluded, and what the debt service costs are for that non-excluded debt. So that we can make a decision. Because I think the last fire truck we did was excluded debt. I'm not sure. Everything's blurring together for me. So.
That's
But
how
if
many
we could
fire
just
trucks
get
there are.
that.
That's the problem. But yeah, in general, I'm going to be an advocate for excluding debt. I would like to listen to the logic that you guys have come up with, but non-excluded debt applies within Prop 2.5, and it's not like we have oodles of room. We have to be careful and manage that, and it's just something to consider. Again, I think what I'll do is I'll come in between now and next Monday and maybe sit with Chris or whoever is coming up with this, and then have a discussion so I become fully informed of your thinking before I weigh in. But I'll tell you right now, you have a skeptic.
Right, so I would strongly suggest that, because I believe we have time, that we have it at a regular Board of Selectmen's meeting, and maybe even include or encourage the warrant committee to attend as well. Because I think our next regular meeting is
It's next Thursday.
right?
April-
And it will just give us a little more time, April 4th.
Oh, it's only 4 more days. Fine. I thought we did have a time limit, so my bad. So yeah, we can.
Well, I think we do, but I think we have the time to just a little more time to get the team to pull it together, so we understand what the impact is and how much room we have on the levy.
And great idea to bring in the warrant committee.
Yeah,
Agreed.
so Mike, the next item is 1.8. It's your, or did I miss 1.7?
That's the budget discussion. So
Yeah, so we kind of did it.
Right.
Just by happenstance. So, I part of my updates, but maybe we could do it on a budget discussion just to recap. I think we had a successful open hearing. Presented the operating budget, which again is currently at 2.5%. We are still waiting word on our grant funding, which I think literally could be any day. Which could bring that down a little bit more. And then I thought, Robin, you did an excellent capital presentation. And again, if we can tie that into what we want to do for debt next Thursday, I think we'll be ready to put a bow on that.
You know what would be really helpful is last year we had that summary schedule of the model that was used as part of the presentation for town meeting. So it would be great to update that because it has all the pieces in there and maybe go over that at our next, is it the April 4th Board of Selectmen's meeting and really spend some time looking at the budget where we are today so that we can then make an informed decision on how to handle the debt.
Absolutely.
I would appreciate that as well, because I also have some operational budget questions myself, and you know, we can only discuss them here, so.
Right. Well, you can feel free to forward those questions to Chris and Carl so that they have answers already prepared for the meeting on. All right, I am gonna look at the calendar and make sure it's the 4th. Because I keep saying it's on the 4th and it's probably another day. Yep, you see, the 4th is Friday.
Yep,
It's the
third.
third.
It's the third. Yep.
All right, so Mike, are you done with 1.7 and 1.8?
So just to finish on 1.8, you know, each week we try to just update on any progress in our goals and priorities. And Dave may have this update, but he had his office hours last week in a morning time frame, which I thought was good to offer the community. I'll let him. I don't know if I know we think we had one taker.
We did. It's a two father-son team.
Oh, there you go. Too. We'll count.
Yeah, I'll cover that when I get to.
Yep. We're hoping, and I won't hold him to this, but we're hoping to bring forward the electrical aggregation RP results to your next meeting. So we're trying to wrap that up to bring that to you. And then I already mentioned, you know, we're continuing to push forward on the permitting software. Since our last meeting, we did have an in-person demo that was open to board and committee chairs. I think it was well received. You know, the feedback was very positive about the software. And so again, we're just waiting for that final piece. Either way, we want to move forward with it, but we're just hoping to pull, you know, if not all, at least some of it out of the operating budget.
Okay. So, well, Dave, I'll let you start
For
on
updates?
selecting updates.
Well, all right, here we go. I actually have 7 of them, believe it or not.
Wow.
So on the community center, one of the reasons I'm so careful about the dates is they did test the windows and 4 of the sashes failed, which means they have to go back to the manufacturer and have them manufacture new sashes and install those and test those. And then the initial test of the septic system also failed. So I don't know if these are going to cause additional delays. I'm not saying that, but there's still lots of work to be done. And as previous work is now verified, that's why you test and go through this. But still fingers crossed on you know, the timeline that's in front of us now, but we don't know. The planning board, and I think Carol's still here, but the planning board met last night at the same time as the warrant committee. So I did go there, and the 2 is the planning board on the site plan review. They wish to have some time to study that article. They also want to see if online permitting helps the situation, because the proponent or the citizen bringing that forward had kind of a rough process, and part of that was timing, part of that was a little bit of just coordination, and hopefully the permitting process will make it much smoother in the future. And so they would like to basically ask for a year, and next year they may come back in full support, but they would like to do their own work, do their own review first. The next one is the sidewalk, and there they are opposed to the sidewalk as proposed, but are very much in favor of a working group to look at any safety issues regarding Chickering, Cross Street, access to the center of town for children and adults as well, of course. But that
And I think both the police chief and the highway department and are in favor of that as well, like a holistic
exactly.
approach. Right.
And I came in at the end of the warrant committee, right as they were talking about the same article, and they very much are of the same mindset that some safety issues have been raised. Let's put an appropriate committee together and address them, because we obviously want everyone to be as safe as possible. So that's the update there. Sustainability, I finally got to attend a meeting. They've been putting these on top of either warrant, capital, and or planning board. So it's a great, very energetic group. They're looking at the Dover water study, and also want to get some initiatives on outreach. And they were looking to the town to hire an outreach coordinator as well as a grant writer. And I did explain to them that additional personnel are very difficult to come by. And yet the COA in this year's budget has additional personnel time, or PTO, for outreach. And then I started thinking about what sustainability is looking at. It's education and offering the mass save services and other services to our citizens. And why wouldn't that be part of the outreach from Council on Aging? So I think what we need to do is put the two together, and it's really a marriage that would seem to work very well, and it would give the Sustainability Committee some outreach to a large population. And then the other possible one is once, for lack of a better word, a flyer or some material is written, that could also then go to the schools and be distributed that way, so that we do have a much broader reach and outreach without having to hire someone. Let's see, what else do we have there? Oh, and then grants, well, I've already talked on that. So a question did arise in my mind that we won't be able to solve tonight, but I'd love to hear everyone's opinion on this. And that is, it seems that the Capital Budget Committee, the Warrant Committee, the Sustainability Committee, and perhaps others are all thinking of those green energy grants. And who should be coordinating those applications? Because right now we can't apply for anything until the community center is finished. But once it is, who's going to determine which town project gets to apply for the next green energy grant?
Since those apply to capital, when the Sustainability Committee was formed, rather than have duplication of effort, because I talked to their chair about this, it was assumed, or we agreed that a representative from capital would sit on that committee and thereby be able to coordinate the grant process for green community grants. But there are other grants that could potentially be available that aren't necessarily tied to capital. So you know, having somebody from capital on there, we would ensure that there would be no duplication of effort. Because right now it has been capital working with the town that's taken the lead on putting together the grant applications.
Great. I just, again, I
Right.
saw kind of conflict of possibilities brewing. And, you know,
Right.
if two committees apply for the same grant from the same town, that's not a good look. So, all right. So then,
Right. But what is interesting about the Green Communities grants is at the region, both towns can apply for the same grant.
right,
So both Dover and Sherborne can apply for grants towards the regional school.
right. Well, what it really comes down to is how do we get the biggest bang for our buck through that program?
Right.
So,
And we got a big bang for our buck, but we're not allowed to apply for another 2 years.
so that's that. That's good to know. So capital budget and sustainability will coordinate as a matter of course.
Right.
Right, great. Thank you. Now I know the answer. The next one is the working group on investments. We have a potential new member who has volunteered. I'm very excited and going to see if I can get him interested in perhaps warrant or capital budget as well. So that's exciting. Another question for Mike. Now that we have a treasurer collector who's worked here at least 1 week,
I think it's 2.
two, well, I said at least one because I wasn't sure. But should we just wait till after town meeting to tackle the RFPs and some of the initiatives that we'll postpone it a couple, 6 months because we needed the right person in place. So you don't have to give me an answer now, but just if you could think about that, when can we start the process of, let's just start with the RFPs on the existing management contracts of the town's money.
I mean, I'll wait. I think after town meeting is great. Because as much as, all joking aside, she's been here a whole 2 weeks, which is great. She still obviously has a lot of settling in and just learning Dover processes. So I think that would be really helpful to give some time before we start branching off to do some non-daily work kind of things. I think that would be really helpful. So I appreciate you considering that.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll just follow your lead on that. And after town meeting, maybe we can have a quick meeting and start
I
it.
think that's perfect. Yep.
Okay. The next
good
one
news
is,
she-
did you
She
guys
did
see
this
that?
in her last community, so she has some experience here.
That's right.
Yeah. Did any of you happen to attend or see the Trout Brook presentation? It is something that, again, because of the time of year, I had to miss both the presentations, but there was a very a long-term and comprehensive study on Trout Brook. And they have an excellent presentation on the degradation of that waterway. Trout Brook no longer has trout, and it is an outline to bring that back to health. And is Conservation Commission the best place to kind of steer this forward? Where I'm not sure what to do with it, but it's a very good presentation. Trout Brook is integral to Dover and the wetlands. So I was thinking Concom and just connecting those two and making sure that any information within this presentation or any suggested action items could be taken up by the most appropriate committee. And I think it's Concom.
So who gave the presentation?
I was afraid you were going to ask that. I'd have to go look it up. It was an independent group, and they have been studying the Trout Brook ecosystem for at least a couple of years and show the problems with it, from clogged culverts to beaver dams to just having man-made. The stream has been spread out, which means that the water becomes too warm and the trout cannot survive in warm water. So they have suggested mitigation efforts, and it just it seemed like a nice thing to pass on, and so I will put them in touch with. I'm sorry, Robin. I'll tell you. I'll find it and I'll just send it to you.
I mean, I think you should send it, yeah, to Concom, so.
Good. And then selectmen hours, as Mike mentioned, we did have them. A very nice father and son team showed up, and their concerns had to do with if the rail trail passes, what effect is it going to have on the Hunt Drive neighborhood? Their specific concerns were parking and trash. And I strongly suggested that, you know, the process has just started, and encouraged him to attend all the meetings, ask their questions of more appropriate people and stay involved. And he was very grateful, and that was my one visitor. So that's it. Believe it or not, I'm done.
Okay, so it's been a busy couple of weeks since our last meeting. Mike and Chris, I'd like to thank you both for making the hard work you put into the open hearing. I think it went really well. I thought the presentations were appropriate, and it did what we needed to do, was to get people informed on town meeting. In the past, we have always had a section on the website with all the town meeting material. I think last year we also sent out a newsletter that was dedicated just to town meeting and gave sort of an explanation of some of the warrant articles and just the town meeting process. And I was wondering if those two items were planned for us again to do this year.
Yeah, so a few things. So one is, what already went out was a mailer,
Which was
mostly
great.
focusing on open hearing, but it also does include, some general town meeting information. We have updated the town meeting website. So if people navigate just to our homepage and can find town meeting, there is a copy of the presentations for each of the articles that actually were presented on. And then obviously, as soon as this warrant is finished, we'll also have that up as well.
With numbers, that might be helpful.
Yes,
To cross-reference.
Yes. And then I defer to Chris on the newsletter efforts. I don't recall how we did that last year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we didn't do a specific newsletter for town meeting, but we definitely, it's open to anybody who has articles that want to submit information to the newsletter from the town side, of course. But we plan on covering town meeting stuff extensively over the next two issues. So just part of our kind of normal course of business for the newsletter.
Okay. So Chris, I know you send out your monthly requests to people.
Yep.
Maybe if you could, I know it's extra work and extra time, which you don't have, but if we could send out, maybe even Mona could send it out to just committees that are sponsoring warrant articles and say, this is a reminder, the newsletter's going out. On this date, if you'd like to do something, please send us the information by.
Yeah, I believe I did note in this, even for this upcoming issue, if anybody had information related to articles that they had to submit that. So, maybe I need to make it a little more prominent or do a second communication on it. But my expectation is that if anybody wants to include information about town meeting articles, that they're free to do so through the normal channels.
Okay. Because it would be, I think some of the articles, for instance, the revolving funds, it may be a good idea to write something up, because that has zero impact on the overall budget, and it's sort of a house cleaning, in a sense, item that we're going to take care of at town meeting. So it would be good to get something out on that.
It's going to be a long meeting for sure. And so any education we can give to town folks and town meeting attendees in advance is a really good idea. So I agree with you, Robin.
Right, and I think, you know, the amendment to the groundwater bylaw, I could see that taking up a huge amount of time at town meeting. So I think we need to think about how we get the information out there.
Agreed.
I mean, I could take a stab at trying to write something, but it may have to go to legal counsel too. I just, you know, it's basically house cleaning and an oversight. But I could see, there's just a history in town of town meeting taking a lot of time to understand these bylaw changes.
Robin, I really agree with you on this one, especially since we just voted to add it to the warrant today. So
Right.
some people might be thinking, oh, are you trying to pull a fast one or something like that? So the more and the faster we publicize it, the better.
All right, I can try write something for the newsletter. I'll send it.
Robin, I'll take that off you. I think we can pull something together. I'll share it with
Okay.
you, and yeah, we can get something.
Okay. Okay, because you know, it also, I think the site plan review process was had a lot of back and forth. And I think it's important that the neighbors understand that this is simply a house cleaning item in a sense. I mean, it would be detrimental to the town if we didn't pass this.
Oh, the amount of, if you just for everyone to have to leave town and go, the fuel costs would go through the roof. And instead of actually doing work, they're going to be driving to get fuel. I mean, it.
Right.
Not to mention, what are we going to do? Kick out mobile?
Right, I mean, that's the thing, you know, clearly the intent was to grandfather the uses and. But those are,
we'll
but
clean it
those
up.
are all of my comments, so.
Well, Mike, if you could write that up, that'd be great.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll send it to you to take a peek at.
All right. And now it's your turn, Mike.
Yep. So we hit most of my things already.
That's what I thought.
I just wanted to say here, you know, as Robin mentioned, it's actually been, it was longer than I thought since we met. But the day after our last meeting, we did hold the Boston Post-Cane ceremony for Frida Markanowski.
Oh, that's right.
Really, it was a very nice time. It was a really good turnout. Her family was here, including a grandson that made it just in the nick of time driving from Maine.
Wow.
I think there's a great grandchild here, so it was really nice. So we got some good pictures, and there was a new addition to her name and the date you voted that on the plaque at the library. So really, just a nice moment to celebrate. Robin, you kind of referenced it, and I see Nina's still here. As far as I know, it's actually not been signed by the governor yet, but the legislature did pass an extension and sent it to the governor, a bill to the governor to extend the remote meetings through June of 2027. So as far as I know, all signs point to that'll get signed. So hopefully that won't create any issues. Hopefully they sign it soon, because the last couple times this happened, they waited until the last minute, and it really threw off meeting postings and things like that. So
they're down to 5 days. At this
yeah, it's getting close. I don't know what the issue is, but just creates a lot of chaos of how to post a meeting. Is it in person? Is it remote? So hopefully we'll get that squared away. And then lastly, I just wanted to put a very big plug to the planning board's information, MBTA public information session tonight. So it's going to be held on Zoom tonight at 7 p.m. And the planning board will be presenting information about Dover's efforts to comply with the MBTA Communities Act, and then provide residents an opportunity for discussion, questions, answers, comments, things like that. So if you can find your way to our town website, you can find the links there to join, but certainly would encourage everyone who's interested and attending that and getting it more information.
Thank you, Mike. And now the last item of business, which is the consent agenda, which consists of the following: to approve the Mass Executive Office of Administration and Finance fiscal year 25 earmark of 20,000 for the design and permitting of the Claybrook Road culvert. To approve the 2025 special one-day liquor licenses for April 5th, 14th, 18th, 27th, May 11th, and June 16th. And to approve February 8th, 2024 Board of Selectmen open session minutes. And I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Okay, and now I am going to move that the board enter into executive session, not to return to open session, to prepare for strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. Further, as chair, I declare that an open meeting discussion may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town. And I will need a roll call vote for this after a second.
Second.
And this is a roll call vote. In favor, aye, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
All right, so we are going to adjourn this meeting, not to return to open session, and we have another number to call, link to call into for the executive session.
And
Right, yeah,
I
so log
assume
off you.
I am all set, Michael?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Nina.
All right,
Thanks,
take care,
Nina.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Goodbye.
Travel safe, Robin.
Thanks.
All right, so we'll see you on the other side in a couple minutes.